Oh, so I was struggling for the last 5-10 minutes to try and export out the updated song for the starting stream, and I didn't have my audio set up, so it didn't pick up any of it. I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think the audio input was routed through there. So having fun. Yeah, back for another stream. Trying to be more consistent. I was supposed to come back on last Friday. Had a project kind of ramp up a bit more than I was expecting. Needed to get something done to get someone else moving. Um, so that's in a good spot. So taking a little break, figured come back in, do some photos again. The last couple streams have been all design. Um, so what I want to do today is there's a bunch of photos currently on my screensaver and the TV app that are just they're not good. Like the thumbnail for the stream, um, that one that's a Capture One bug of there's something wrong with GPU acceleration where it would just glitch out and it would do this sort of mosaic of like applying the edit in one place and then not in the other. And I reached out to Capture One support on that one, and all they told me was just turn it off. So I could never use GPU acceleration um, with Capture One, which I mean wasn't that bad. There was a little difference, but I mean I didn't do a lot of like TIFF exporting. It was all just like for web JPEGs or for Insta. So um, yeah, kind of nominal. I ended Capture One with good on good terms. So um, but yeah, I think like it might be valuable to just kind of go through. I think those aside, like that's a technical thing, that's a bug with Capture One. But I think going through and doing um, kind of some updates to just like the editing style, like how I think there's people who've come to know me through different phases throughout my kind of photo exploration or whatever you want to call it. And there's been different phases like learning curves and how that just was a shit show for a while. Um, so my colors are all fucked up. Then I started learning about different values and different techniques on how to apply it. So I think like I've been refining the same batch of images. I think I have it's like 64,000, so it's still like large batch, but just kind of iterating on those, and that's the beauty of digital imagery is you can just kind of keep going back. So I'm gonna go ahead and do full screen mode right now because it involves um, looking at like the FTP app I have. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna make sure I'm hiding everything that needs to be hid. A couple other projects I can't talk about just yet. But like for designs right now, like I'm fucking over the moon on Ari's project coming out very, 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 very soon. I know it's kind of been talked about for a while, but that's definitively coming out very, very, very soon. I'm not going to say the exact one. I know when we're targeting it, and it's very, very soon. But um, I mean, it's like every launch. There's always things to kind of scramble. So I actually might need to like pause on the stream for a second to kind of help him out. But I don't know if he's watching or not. I don't think he watches these streams. I don't think he can put up with any more of me. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and quit that. Quit this. Sorry, I'm like full scramble mode. Let's see notifications so text don't show up. And yeah, so this again, this is photo, but whatever. Like this is it's what I had in mind. Like I'm trying to balance my streams out. I'm still trying to find out what the right balance is, whether I should do like clearly there's more interest in design, but photo is always kind of my passion thing. So that's kind of why it's on a Sunday too. Um, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. So if you have any feedback on it, of course, just give me a shout. So I'm gonna do. All right, I got one more thing to check to make sure. There's nothing floating around that shouldn't be. I think we're all good. Yeah. All right, desktop streaming. Here goes nothing. Okay. So I'm gonna go by like date modified. Actually, there's a better way. So the selects, how I do it typically is I organize things and I color badge. And so these are where I'll export out from Lightroom. Now Lightroom, used to be Capture One. And I'll mark ones that I've uploaded as green. So everything that's marked green, like I've more or less okayed at the moment, and uploaded it. So these all exist on the screen share. Some of these, like I've kind of gone back and I haven't liked the balance. So those I can go through. Like this one, as simple as the shot is, I've never liked it. I have about 8 different edits. I hate all of them. I think I posted it to Instagram once, but I hated it. So, yeah. So some of these like green yellow, there's like, hey, there's kind of a problem. But some of like green red, like that's got to come down. So some of these are definitively problematic. And I can go into the reasons why. That's probably where the most value is going to be. And you can see the ones with the DRX, those are ones from Resolve. So I've kind of come about full circle in terms of like what I like about my little Resolve exploration. And see, I have multiple. Why do I have multiple of the same? Or maybe I'm just imagining things. But yeah, you can kind of see the system, but I think it'll be going through because I honestly like I look at this all the time, and I will just kind of get mad looking at it. So technically, if I can kind of look at some of these and just go through them one by one. And so some of these, like I think the grain settings could be better. There's just some that are a bit more egregious than others, from what I can tell. Oh, and the other thing I want to do, yeah, this one's boring. I don't know how this got through. So, and the beauty of Lightroom now is I can go into Lightroom. I can go to all photos, text, text, text. Type in the file name and it shows up. So Capture One, you can't do this. Like literally nothing shows up when you click on a parent folder. I have to think that they're going to update that at some point, but still waiting. Last I heard. So yeah. So when I did the migration from Lightroom to Capture One, it did a lot of, I don't know, it's some tool that I believe must be Capture One does, where they do all sorts of like, I think they remove a lot of like the edits that don't translate one to one. So some of these, like I'll be going way back just to try and like find the right one. I think I'm playing with fire if I do this, but let's open up Capture One as well. And I literally think I stopped mid-sentence when I was talking about what I wanted to mess around with. So one thing I did find, so this is like the MIDI keyboard I use for production, if you want to even call it that. Whatever I do to like just, oh, I lost the tab. Whatever I want to do, setting up hardware acceleration, music production. But I just got curious because it has 8 dials on it, and the thought came to me as like, I wonder if there's a way to control different values via the MIDI, like the dials, because the dials have a lot more, I don't know, at least on the Akai, a lot of like, it's just very fluid the way you can kind of adjust things. But as I'm saying this, it's not even working. So, I don't know what that's about. Is it on the wrong bank? This was working. I've never had an issue with it. I've used it multiple times. I think that the problem is, if I quit it, skip this time. This stream is off to a flying fucking start. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, so right now I've only mapped it out to a couple things. I think what will be good with the startup is it'll also show, like the interface that comes with like it's some third party. It'll say the name of it. I can't think of it right now. Yeah, MIDI to LR. So you can add all these parameters here. So if I just start messing with like a new dial, it'll show up here. So it is working. So that's like this first knob on the second row. I can go through and I can assign to anything. I tend to think of, and I think there's ways I can like change the banks, and I could technically have 16. I don't really know because I haven't. Let's see. There's one way to find out. Do it right now. Nope. So changing banks doesn't do anything. Holding bank doesn't do anything. So I can't do it. But what's nice, like, if I really put a system to this, I can think of ways to, like, some of these, like, MPC style pads, I can assign those as, like, big hit buttons um, for, oh, how do I get rid of these? For, like, assigning ratings and flags, like, I can just quickly do it. The irony is like sitting right in front of it is my Stream Deck, which should be much more, I don't know, adept at doing something like that. But I actually haven't made a Stream Deck set for Lightroom. That's something that's on my list of things to do. But let's see if this is working. Yeah. So like as I'm turning this dial, like I can fluidly just fuck around with the exposure. So I actually don't like anything. I can go into, like, to me this edit feels really flat. That's the best that I can really say about it. So I'm just gonna reset it. I'm gonna add the default in, and then just using the dials. Like, to me, like I always like oscillating a lot of the parameters. So for me, this is huge because I don't have a plan per se ever. Um, but I have like contrast, so I can get like the main things kind of, or the main attributes sorted out. And I'm tempted to, actually, I am going to do it. I think if I do, so I have exposure as the first dial, contrast as the second, temperature as the third, tint as the fourth, and then if I do highlights as the first and the second row, second, third, fourth, I think we might be kind of doing well. So let's see. Basic tone, temperature, not reset. Am I being dumb? Not reset. Shadows. What's PV1 and PV2? Huh. But no, that should control. Yeah, it's controlling highlights. Not very smooth about it. Kind of strange. This should be basic tone. Brightness. Where the fuck is brightness? What? Apparently I'm messing with brightness. Am I the only one that's not heard of brightness? Basic tone? I know Capture One has brightness. Yeah, they have brightness right here. So that's where I don't. I wish Capture One had brightness. To me, my best guess would be in the global luminance. I mean, that's not a bad thing to do either. I just wish I had banks so I could just do like one bank of dials for like exposure, different values, and then have the other one set to color. Need modifiers. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. But I think like having the 4 dials split between these, or the 8 dials between these primary 8 features. I think if I suddenly like set one of those dials um, to like brightness somewhere in like the color, like the global color grading, like that's just strange. Like that would just break my brain. It would not go well. So brightness. If anyone's here and can tell me what the fuck brightness is, I would love to learn. So I'm just going through unassigned. So basic tone, lights. And if you have a MIDI controller, I recommend taking a look. Like this is free. I think it's on donations, which I definitely want to donate to help support. I don't know when the last development is. Like if this is just something that's like dead and just lives on. Like all this freeware stuff, if you use it a lot, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I have some, I guess, quote unquote freeware that I operate in at a expense. But a lot of these companies, like, they're much more involved in the development and creation of it. So it's like DaVinci Resolve. Like they have a free version, you can pretty much use it, but if you rely on it a lot, yeah, maybe you don't need all the features of the paid version, but like if you vote with your dollars, like suddenly like DaVinci Resolve goes out or they stop like adding the features you want, but you're just kind of sitting there as an unpaid user. Kind of, you can't be too pissed at the end of the day. But that's just me. Okay, so I have those set. So I want to go fix some of these. But I do want to find this one, Capture One. I don't remember any of the hotkeys. Maybe I do. So yeah, this is like floors me that you can't click on these parent folders and it's just nothing. Like, how is that a fucking thing? Like, if they want to, like, if you want to stress photo structure or like folder organization with your photos, that's like a big deal. And also the other big deal, like as I was going back, and it's like there's no history in Capture One. Like two things, like my guess is it's performance related because I know there's been people complaining about it very often in their forums. But I don't know. Clearly they don't need to. I'm gonna lower the contrast. Shadows look kind of blue. Temperature going up. I'm always kind of biased towards like warmer temperatures with like these desert shots. Wow, tint is lagging. CPU is not crazy about what I'm doing right now. Highlights on these kind of edits are like, I have to like keep going back to them. This is where you can just like nuke the shadows and make something super flat. I don't. Sometimes I'll do it more than I typically would just because it sort of fits the vibe of the picture. I don't really like. I don't really like pulling out the shadows that much. Like I'd rather, like if I'm trying to make it feel real, I would need the shadows. I would need the overall image to look like exposed for the shadows, whether or not that's the reality or not. I'll just stop things down in general because I just have more flexibility in terms of like what I can do with it. No, yeah, this is lagging hard. Huh. I back the highlights off a little bit. I still think the shadows are still like it. in reality it should be somewhere like down here. Get moving on this one. Yeah, wait, why? Did I really end up back at 0? Okay, so clearly there's some bugs with this still, because the readout on the screen right here was showing negative 100, when over here it was showing 0. It seems better about it now, but I don't know, kind of strange. Okay, so kind of happy with this so far. I'll do a couple baseline things. I always forget. So if I do that, it's in the transform. I'm like slowly getting used to Lightroom again. Been a journey. And I always like doing the guided perspective correction. I can kind of control like what points I want. Like those are priority points. Horizon looks crooked now, which is, check auto for, I don't think that's any, oh, it is better. It's kind of correcting the warp that it created. Okay, so I'll crop, punch in a little bit. I think that creates a simpler shape. Because the shadow kind of being down here, this is not essential. I do like the crack in the ground there, and I do like the horizon line being at the third. So that's how I shot it. Now I'm just kind of punching in and I know I didn't shoot it that way. Couldn't have. Maybe it was a roof line. I can't remember. Trying to give myself more credit than I actually deserve. I'm creative with credit. What can I say? Fucking dad puns just can't be helped. So then I jump to calibration. Some of these like desert ones, like pulling up the magenta, kind of helps offset like the bluer shadows. So if I don't go too warm with like the color balance, I can sort of recover the warm feel. So I keep the sky blue, but then I just kind of up the reds and the shadows. It's sort of like doing the what's it called? Doing like the bump in the shadows for like red tones to kind of offset the blues. I mean, it still looks blue. We'll still fix that. But just as a first step, the shadow tint definitely is a good way of going about it. So again, like if you're going overexposed with things, it's very easy to lose the color saturation. That's where these can kind of be a little dicey, is how you adjust for like overcompensating or over like exposing things. Like how much correction do you then apply to, I guess, normalize it is the best way I would say. Yeah, without going too overboard where it looks artificial. That's really how I shot it? There must be a better one. But you never know. So I can do spot heal. I don't know what that is. It must just be a lens flare. There was a while where my 24-70 had a crack in it. But that made everything darker. That was a different thing. That was a nice thing to discover one day. Just like, hey, there's a smudge everywhere, and you look like on the inside of the glass, and it was just had a crack in it, and like it was brand new. Babied the hell out of it, and it still had a crack. Um, so I'm like, so now I'm chasing down to like a more normal spot when I went up like 3 stops. So this is where you kind of have to like check back to like what you initially did with like the global parameters. Like maybe you didn't, or I didn't quite, um, didn't quite get it right with that first attempt. So then you're kind of always fighting like that 3 stops up. Like you're trying to knock everything back as your way to kind of like break even or find that normal that you're looking for. Which I don't really advise. I think it can still turn out fine. There's plenty of images that I'll go back and like look at the details of like how I did that edit. Like maybe there's something about it I like or don't quite like. And yeah, you'll find like I went way too hard on like the overall exposure. Let's see. So after I get through like base tonality, like it'll again start changing once I get into the color grading because they have these additional sort of value sliders, which I really appreciate. Like I think these are going to be more fluid than like a lot of the other. Like if you start like picking apart these, I at this point I'm not even touching the primary curves. I think I look at this panel, whatever it's called, parametric curve panel. That's like my levels, so I can kind of adapt the value that way. And I think is a little bit more continuous. Like it makes a very concerted effort to make it as smooth as possible. Like if you grab at one point, I guess if I grab in the middle, maybe I thought it made an effort to like drag multiple. Like so, if you go too far, it would try and blend them together. But midtones, and then the order from here kind of just I haven't really cracked it. With how the values are being applied, like midtones for this image is more of the shadows. Like if you look at the histogram, it's like there really is no shadows. There is information that is that dark. It's probably like through here, but it's not your typical sort of grade. And it's just the same way of like when you dump the exposure and you want to make something dark, like suddenly your global controls that apply to the whole histogram suddenly become one becomes like almost overpowered and the other becomes just like entirely insignificant. Yeah, I reached out to capture. I think I said it before, but I reached out to capture one about like a feature to to make it like relative to your not your histogram, but like the values in the image, like the present values versus like global values, because it's always set from like 0 to 100. But like let's say you have a dark edit where you only have like 5% value to 60%. That becomes your readjusted scale. So then your highlights are the top third of that, whatever, 55%. It didn't take. It's yeah, with the one kind of frustrating thing about Capture One, I think it was Capture One. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It was like the community around it. No, that was DaVinci Resolve. Excuse me. DaVinci Resolve's community is just like I don't know. There's some like know-it-alls who are toxic, and like you ask them a question, like that's not what it's meant for, and they just don't answer your question. Like, don't do that. That's like okay, that doesn't help me sort of figure this out. Like, I still want to do this, like whether that's the right way or wrong way. Um, and it's like there's I think there's great value in what people are suggesting a lot of times. Like not just because I'm thinking the same thing, but um, like it seems like a genuinely useful thing. Like okay, maybe the tool's not made for that, but man, shit, why not implement it or at least like oh yeah, maybe that'd be great, instead of just like shutting it down of like, that's not what that tool's for. It's like, okay, sure, buddy. And so now I'm just going back in and kind of just like oppose. So where did I add it? Well, I added some of the more saturation through the calibration. Um, so for me, some of the like oranges that were starting to show up through here were just a little excessive. It felt kind of. I mean, I think they're there. Like if I took that base image and upped the contrast, I think it would be there. But for me, it starts looking like an orange underside of a gas container. I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right. I think the sky. This is, you can also get in a lot of trouble with. You start dumping luminance in the sky, like it just looks artificial really quickly, but a little bit, probably less than that. Do you think saturation come up a little bit? I'm always tepid about these. Like this feels like I'm sort of like fucking with the actual value of the image by like pretending the sky is a certain color. Kevin, hey John, just jumping by. Hope you have a good stream. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for popping in. And yeah, like it's gonna be interesting, like how I find the balance of like what I focus on, because I'm fully aware that not everyone wants to see photos, not everyone wants to see design, like, um, so yeah, I'm no sort of offended that like people just don't show up for a photo stream. Like it's it's all good, man. No worries. Not saying that's what you're doing. Fuck. Um, yeah, so I think tomorrow actually I'll be doing a design stream. Um, something may or may not launch tomorrow. Let's see. Um, but if not, there's plenty of design shit for me to work on. So I'm gonna really make a point this week to stream. My goal is like once a day. Like I want to be consistent and do it like same time every day, Monday to Friday, and see what happens. Um, with like the pending launch of Ari's site, it's kind of been like last minute things, some color adjustments. So I've been having to like pop out into that, but I think the next project we're working on, I have plenty. I like jammed the last couple days to try and get ahead on that. So there shouldn't be any like crazy urgency, but it's also like the craziest project I've ever worked on, and I'm super excited about it. So I'm trying to find that balance because I think consistency on streaming is like really important. Um, I wish I could tune in live today. Actually, want. Oh shit, man. Well, there'll be more, and like I'm kind of letting people just vote with their interest. Like I kind of always solicit comments in the comment section, and I love like the fact that people show up here and kind of converse about this stuff. I love having like the dialogue about it. But that's my way to kind of gauge where I should take things. I'll always have stuff for me to work on in almost everything. Like music production, I need to work on the stream deck. I need to work on some personal design stuff, the photo book. So yeah, and like the video on demand, like that's kind of, I think I need to reorganize them because right now it's just live altogether, and I try and make it clear in the title. Um, what's going to make it hard is like when I start with photos and then end up in design or like fucking around in live or something. It's like I don't know how to classify that. So um, that will be something for me to figure out. But yeah, it's stoked you pop through, man. Yeah, no worry. Like I'm all good, man. I'm used to talking to myself here. Um, I just hope someone gets value out of my talking to myself. Why is this really bucketing that in with orange? Fucking lame. Fuck, that's not it. Dump that a little bit. I don't know, this just feels kind of boring. What it is. I have been feeling that way. It's like my sort of, this is my selects folder. I don't know. I have to figure out my whole organization system. But like kind of where I want to head. What's this? I can't find anything. Let's see, attribute. No, metadata. This is texture. What? There. Go. Like literally the one image I'm looking for, I can't find right now. Lab. It's gotta be lab. Yeah. This. So this is one that was kind of an accident. I pushed it probably harder than I normally would, but I'm really liking the results of like pushing the color balance in just weird ways. Because I think like what I have going on the one I was just working on, to me is just, it feels like a so what sort of edit. That's where I'm kind of struggling with right now, because I think there's a lot of things I like about that image, but at the end of the day, it's like kind of everyone's got something along those lines. Which I've lost the image already. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. Like I look at them, and if I don't care about it, then I genuinely can't expect other people to care about it. I think like this one kind of got into some interesting tonalities. It's more subtle than the other one I was referencing, but yeah. I still need to get back and fix that. Photos. Scared. Next. Oh. This is what's crazy, is like the fact that cameras only assign a 10-digit number, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 laps around on that. So I've had like naming conflictions where it would be like John02698 already existed when it was the first time I edited that photo. I'd be like, well, shit, there's another one with the same file name that I happen to like. Like, these are both marked yellow. Like, I haven't done anything with this. Actually, don't really like this. Actually, I don't mind it. The texture's all right. This is pretty boring. Actually, wait. Did I read that right? No, did not. So I want to see what else I've done. I remember this edit being better. So you can see, like, I used a lot too much contrast. Too much contrast, clarity is too high, plus 15. So I've moved to negative clarity exclusively. So this feels much better. Like, I feel better about this now, having come back, but I still think there's like too much warmth in the midtones, which I think is technically shadows. I did want to find this in Capture One. What's this? Why is my computer chugging? What's that like? It's all right. Whenever it gets to like anything over 10%, it just really starts having a tough go of it. It's like a trip through the Southwest. I have no idea what day it is. Wait, am I being dumb? No. No. I was like, oh, I wasn't on grid view, so you couldn't tell what was what. I really should have been more descriptive with my name in hindsight. Oh, here's the full shoot. This is just like a gas station off the side of the road. I love this kind of shit. So whenever I see it, and there's so much of this stuff go through the Southwest. Oh, comment. Do you got a special focal length for when you take photos, or do you always use a different one for each photo? I don't think I have a bias. I mean, I could probably check the metadata to see if there's any sort of kind of continuity between the images, but there's no conscious decision that I'm aware of. It should say the focal length. It says the range, but it doesn't say exposure. 28, 16, 16. So this is my 16 to 35. 16. I mean, I tend to go wide. Like if I have to pick one, I'll go wider than normal just because there's more options when it comes to punching in. I think you can't expand out once you have an image. You do have to be careful about it because you never know, like it depends on for me, like I always want to make prints, so I have to be conscious about like how much I punch in and how big I want to go. I don't have like a medium format camera where I can just like shoot everything wide and kind of punch in later. I'd love to. Like Fuji or Hasselblad, like if you're listening, love one of those cameras. So I have to be kind of mindful of it, so I can't just like go infinitely wide. But what I'll do is like I don't know. I've been better about it lately. I kind of hit or miss, but I try and just vary it. Like you can see here, like I'll just punch in. I think I'll typically start shooting tighter, knowing like the composition that I want. But then as like a fallback towards the end, I'll just go wide. Like I don't think this is what I want, but you never know. And I end up using, like in this instance, I didn't end up using the tighter composition. I think, I mean, looking at it now, I don't know why. I think I like the additional graffiti on the side of the building. That's ultimately why I did it. I think compositionally that's better, but that's something like through the lens you can see it, but or like you don't see it, excuse me. But like once you see it after the fact, it's like, oh fuck, like I wish I had more of that graffiti in the image. Which I'm kind of curious now that I see this. Yeah, kind of similar. I like this tonality. I like the color in the sky. So that's from the heavily reliant on the color calibration, which Capture One doesn't have. That's kind of one of the big things. But yeah, so that would be my answer. Would be I'll vary it to whatever I need to, and I always use zoom lenses. Like my whole bag is zoom lenses right now. And there's people who like don't like that, and it's okay. You guys can go zoom with your feet. The lenses are so sharp now. Like I don't see any like discernible fall off. I think there's like kind of edge cases where yeah, you could probably start seeing some like fuzziness around the edges. But if you compare like, so I'm using the Sony GM lenses. Like I just I went with one non-native lens and I just paid for it. Or I had like my first lens with the camera was a was a 28mm f2 prime. I was like, oh shit, it's cheap. Like, nice. F2, like, perfect. Not really like digging into the reviews where people start talking about like the quality fall off. Like, you could just see like once it gets out of like the center of focus, like around the edges, it's heavily distorted. It's heavily like it's blurry at the end of the day. So if you want to make prints, that's kind of a deal breaker. So got to a point where I was like looking at making prints of some images from shooting with that lens, and it was kind of questionable on whether I could really get it. It depended on the image. Like if it's something with sky around the edge, like in the top, probably fine. Maybe I can kind of crop in around the bottom so I don't have the edges showing as much. And I think it kind of depended on different, there's a couple different aspects that filter into that. But yeah, I know that really wasn't your question. But also, how many photos do you take when you're on a trip? So, I mean, so this is, how do I get back? So this is a Southwest trip. I can tell you definitively there was probably 10x that, at least. I don't know why, but there's so many things that look great in the viewport, but when you just get it, like, perfect example actually. I shot around Sedona. I don't think I've ever posted an image of Sedona outside of me being dumb and posting like the cross upside down. Like all this shit when I was there, I was like, oh man, like this is gonna be great. Hiked up this place, this butte in the dark. And I think there's something nice about it. I don't know if it's just the fact that I never got the grade in like a good spot, but I don't know. Like the scale just doesn't come across. There's nothing there for reference of like these are full. They're not trees, but they're not bushes. Like that's pretty big. It's not like Grand Canyon that's just so astronomically large, like on its own, it can convey scale. But yeah, it just doesn't pan out sometimes. Like great shots like this. Like, why is that still here? Yeah. So it always varies. It depends on where I go. Like if I went to like Iceland trips, because everything's brand new, like it's such a different place. I mean, you could see like I just couldn't even filter through a lot of them. I really should, but there's just like it's such unique geography. Like I'm a little bit more hesitant to start trimming the fat, and I'll stop all the time. Like I took this trip by myself, and so I literally went all the time and like stopped. So this is the image actually. This is what's on the cover of the stream, which I should probably fix as a kind of make good on my thumbnail. So this is getting better. I'm like coming back to it. I feel better about it. I need to make sure this is in. Apparently, girlfriend told me incidental doesn't quite make sense, and I kind of agree. But I can't think of a better word of like shit that I stumble across. So that's kind of my style. But what's this image? 5785. If I hide this, I'll better perform. 5785. 0? Yes. Why does the JPEG pull in here? Oh, so it pulled in the selects folder. That's actually good. That's actually really fucking good. So I copy this. So I can see like everything that's in my selects folder. So instead of having to open up, so I use CyberDuck for my FTP, I can just go through there. And you can see exactly what I was talking about with the GPU. Sort of just bugging out. But then I also want to update it in in Lightroom. Because I do think there are little things that I'm doing better. Like just the colors are better. Like I don't have a great reason why. Just is, man. Okay. So this We go back a couple steps. So for me, this is like harder clarity. So, yeah, this is not what I would advise. And I can't remember why I did it, but I started adding more contrast through the color curves. So all these points are matched, but it added contrast through the individual channels versus my default back then didn't have as much in here, but it's kind of wild to see that that like tonal curve. It's I don't do anything close to that now. The result, like if I just sort of dump the clarity a little bit, and I'll actually go and do the dehaze bit as well. I mean, it's really not that far off. I like the colors. I'm okay with. I think the exposure is kind of whatever. Like it felt more dramatic because there were clouds kind of coming over the side. But let me just do a fresh take on this one. So I will do copy and just full reset. This is like what kills me. Like that delay, it's not long, but you multiply it by a ton, like however many thousands of image I work on all the time. So I'm updating it now. Like Lightroom's just not responding. This is a fucking Mac Pro, not base level. It's got, I mean, it is literally unable to do exposure values right now. So I've got 96 gigs of RAM and 16 cores, and it can't update exposure. Oh, it can through that. Maybe it's just bugging on. No, see, that's fine. I don't know. I don't know. It's like it switched to a different one and it just doesn't know what to do. Like needs a minute. I think it's very strange. Like none of these. Okay, so maybe forget what I was saying about these dials and the MIDI control. Like you saw the values being changed there, but it's like it's not showing up in the history at all. It's not being reflected in the actual sliders. I'm sad. I was like, I think if I just like fully torque the dials to like activates them if I hit like both sides, like that's what it needs to wake up. It's kind of annoying. Shadows. Uh-oh. I do wonder if having capture one open at the same time is just too much. What's that have open? Maybe if I close this. Oh, I should have saved. Save. No. Fuck. Yeah, still beach balling with the Mac Pro. Some things just don't change. But that's just the app. I think the app's locked up. Maybe I should not be so quick to complain about that. I just think like the MIDI controller is just not there. For whatever reason, Lightroom doesn't like it, so I probably wouldn't advise it. But I do remember this one being a bit of a struggle because it's like, if I want to make this darker, actually I never made this darker. I think I made peace with it being lighter, fundamentally. But then I tried to bring it back by doing a lot of that kind of just funky bits with the curves and clarity and like these color channels. I don't. I need to go back and find out why I did that. There's a if it's a better way to add contrast through there. I really can't sort that one out. So if you know, I'd love to know. Okay, so this is just bugging out. Get out of here. And it's gone. See if performance is any better. Yeah, this is my favorite stuff to mess around with. But again, if like that weird color palette's my goal, like I'm not really getting there right now. Like I think this just feels flat. I need to learn like how to push a bit more. And so if the values really aren't getting there, then I start like, I don't typically jump to the color grading tab this quickly, but if I just really don't feel like the values are getting there, then like messing around with color is not really what I should be doing. Isn't there a way to do black and white? Black and white. Yeah, V. So you can just focus on value. Colors being applied somewhere. Calibration. There's no color in this, is there? So this is a remnant of DaVinci Resolve type stuff. So I was trying to get into the film emulation, which gets into a lot of like the softening of the highlights, and I've been doing that for a while, but I think I resolved, or like I kind of worked through how I want to use it. So I do a lot of softening, and I do get into a lot of like color manipulation through the highlights, because there's less detail and you can kind of control the tonality. And for some reason, in a really nice way, it does seem to work well for what I'm after. Yeah, it's already feeling better. I've actually never really done this. So if I go back, how this gonna look? Yeah, I mean, this is almost an image, so I'll be entirely honest. Like, if you see a black and white image from me, there's a couple that I do intentionally, like, it's just a stylistic choice, but some I just feel so backed in the corner with my edit, and I just get so pissed that I can't do it. I'll post it black and white. And there's been a lot of times, like, I'll go to post something on Instagram, let's say, and like before I really got into like the tonal curve and the individual channels, I never really understood like color manipulation through different value ranges, and the Instagram filters do that. So I would just like I would do my base level edits, which were very kind of um, anemic, I would say. They were like very neutral, very like matter of fact, and I'd get there in there and like, man, these filters just like they're so much better than what I'm putting out. Like, what the fuck? So there's so many images I would post, but after a while, I kind of started seeing less results that I liked, which was good. It felt like I was getting in the right direction as I started to understand the combination of split toning and getting into individual channels. Um, and like the one thing I would do if there was still an image I wasn't totally keen on, I'd go to like what is it, like Willow or something, and that's just like they're black and white. Um, but the problem was that there would be some that would edit like the highlight color. So I always did the framing and had the white background, but some of them would fuck around with that color. So I'd have to like, if I really liked it enough, I'd post it real quick. It would save the duplicate to my phone, and then I'd delete the post, go back in, recrop out that export, and then put it back in the template, and then post it again. Which is probably saying like all sorts of compression and weird shit like that, but that's that's like how like I just didn't know how to do it, so that was my option at that point. Um, yeah, kind of just keep learning this stuff. Like those sort of like milestones and like check-ins of like where you are and where you've been and like how like you're progressing. It's like little things like that. You're like, okay, shit. Like I really started to understand color. Where it's like, it's not improving my image anymore. It's really hurting my image. It looks like dog shit. So it's like maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Yeah, this is the old blue primary. Just fucking gets you in trouble. But I think like just doing that exercise and going to black and white, like I legitimately think that helped a lot. I'll probably start doing more of. Because I try and just do everything at once. Like I have something in my head and it's just shit. Like let's just like do the colors, and then I get carried away with like the color balance, and I forget about the tonality. Then I'm like all the way done with like this is like a color graded version of this image, but the value is still wrong. And then you change the value, and suddenly how those colors are being applied is just like totally all messed up. You have to like start over again. So I'm trying to learn from my lessons. I'm a very slow learner. I'm a creature of habit, so like I'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. Um, that's kind of me. Yo, what's going on, Arjun? Appreciate you coming through, man. I don't know if the photos are going to be as much your jam, but if you have any questions about non-related photo stuff, definitely feel free to send those on over, man. I do need to at least edit this photo that I talked about fixing broken edits. Because that one, that is live in its current condition in the screensaver. And I've looked at it come through about 50 times. And I'm like, man, that really is bad. Like, what the hell? That's interesting. The new grade feels better. More interesting, I would say. Still needs work. Master channel. So this is where like I like the fact that I was bumping up like the reds and the warms and the shadows. And I'll probably just go back to like a bluish thing to neutralize it. I don't know why. I have these tendencies and I just keep like, as I do these laps around the wheel, like I'll just kind of have my default sort of things that I try and recreate. Like see, I'm like stopping on blue again. Like I need to stop. Like if my goal is kind of like different, then I'm not going to achieve that by doing the same thing over and over again. Instagram looks all fuck. Oh. Oh, and by the way, like thank you everyone who new subscriber. I know I've been kind of slanging the channel around on my site a lot. So between like awards and all these other things, and I'm trying to post to Twitter, trying to get to a point. I keep talking about this where I don't keep doing that. When I get there, I don't know. I keep like trying out streams without posting, see what happens. But I'm like really not too stressed about it. I'm used to talking about myself, but I do appreciate the fact that like the number just keeps going up, and like all like the thumbs up on the video, like definitely appreciate it. Yeah, this is good. I get a lot out of this. Jose, buenas. What's up, man? Trying to get to buenas. Bueno. This image. Yeah. Girlfriend speaks Spanish. She laughs at my Spanish. Sometimes. It's not bad. She doesn't laugh at me. She's really nice. Not too much. So you can see like, so this is the previous edit. And I don't really know the terminology for it, but I would call them like tonal flat spots. where I don't need to show information everywhere. I would actually prefer not to show information everywhere, but like this is just, it flattened out what was once like depth. And I think it does a nice job of creating contrast and focus here. I might eat my words and try and like bring this back a little bit because I think that's what this is lacking. Like I think this might be too warm. Like it almost seems like it's the curves. Like it's through here. This. So curves for me now is all about like color correction. So like it looked a little too red through like the midtones, so I can kind of dump it a little bit. I do think like when these sort of like predominantly red sort of images come about, it's nice to offset it. Like instantly, like me starting to like just dump the reds into highlights, to me has made it feel more balanced. Like you can see like there's a good amount of red through there, and I think that's through the color grade. If I go to these channels, yeah, like the shadows are being pulled up. Highlights actually, there's nothing there, so I do have that available to me to kind of find the balance. And this starts getting into, I don't know the film stock or what it is, but I don't know if it's like an expired film. I always make these kind of correlations and assumptions in my head that like, yeah, this is like expired film look, but I don't know if it really is. But it's interesting, like going from like what I would say is too cold or like blue of an edit to something that's, I don't know, a bit different, a little more warmer, a little more balanced. If there's, if I go to folder in library, so this is like everything I shot for this. I knew I really liked this because it like I just, so behind me is like a blind curve and it's on the way back from like the highlands of Iceland, and there's like tour buses that just like the tour bus drivers in Iceland are just nutty. Yeah, there you go, tour bus. These fuckers come around the corner right behind me, and it's like a 90-degree turn, but they like cut the corner and fly around it. Kind of interesting. So I was like running out there, like trying not to get hit by a bus. I thought I had more edits on some of these. Oh, this is when I used to have. Yeah. If you want to talk about, don't do this. I like. Let's take a look. Don't do this. Never go inverted on your tonal curve. I think there's very few exceptions where like you need to artificially create some contrast, but look the fuck out. This is not the way to do it. Like you can see, it's just like it's like the darker shadows are like their values being pulled up higher than like what's over here. And you can't really see it reflected in the tonal curve that much, but yeah, you can see it. All these like pasted settings, like I don't know what these are. Like there was a point where I tried to create all my own presets and try and like systemize everything because I felt weird about just like sticking to like individual edits for everything. Because I wanted to make series, I don't know, it just felt like if I want to make any sort of or have any continuity between my images, I need to have like a baseline to start from. And the way I started that out was by like overly systemizing everything. And then I would have to like find it back, like make it its own unique thing because that's what my eye was telling me was the best way to go about it. I'm forgetting about this balance tool. So then I eventually dumped it. It was just like you could see the naming on there. It was like I had it broken up by like by ocean or landscape or whatever, and then by like time of day, I think is how I did the other sections. Let me take a look. I think there's value to it. Excuse me. It was cold, so I wanted landscape cold and then clean mids. That was like a variation on it, which ironically, like boosted lows was in the title as well. Which, I mean, if you want to talk about boosted lows, go. don't do that. There's one thing to take away from this. Like this is bothering. Like it looks oddly out of place, and I think that's because I dumped the reds too much. I said chugging. Come on. Sorry, I'm gonna check this out. I don't know what's causing it right now. Lightroom, of course. OBS, doing the recording. Everything else is I don't know what using. I guess it's doing the encoding. Plenty of memory. You can see I'm not even getting close. Weird. Like why there's chugging, I don't really know. It's not writing to disk. Like disk speeds are ridiculous on this thing. But yeah, sorry, I'm just like, my guess is just Lightroom being Lightroom. What computer setup do you have? So I have the 2019 Mac Pro. Oh, excuse me. Which is not working. About this Mac. System menus. I'm gonna quit Lightroom real fast. I've noticed this, like there's just, I don't know what it is, it sets it off, but it just starts chugging. I reset it and it's fine. So I would like it for it to last longer than an hour, but maybe I'm just asking too much. I don't know. There you go. Yeah, so this is what I got. 2019 Mac Pro, 16 core, 96 gigabytes of RAM, AMD Radeon 5700. Yeah, I was poor after I bought this. I just decided to go for it. It was like I could either do iMac Pro, but then have other sorts of issues. I just get rid of this. Now I'm scared. Like after talking of that MIDI controller thing, I'm just gonna walk the other way. Clearly something's not right with it. But you can see like it is more responsive now. So I think that's where I'm getting the weird. I think what I actually want through here. But I do think part of the problem I have right now is like I'm doing very like memory video intensive. And I don't think I'm having any issues with the graphics cards being a limitation. And I have a little thing on my Stream Deck that'll tell me the CPU percentage that's being utilized at all times. It's just kind of like a running thing. It's like a little custom tile that Stream Deck makes. And so I'll monitor, especially when it starts chugging, and it never goes over 10%. So my best guess is it's the old code in Lightroom that's not optimized to use all 16 cores. I don't know how many or if at all they allow for multi-core processing, but it doesn't feel like enough. I think I want to dump. I mean, something around here is feeling better. So I'll just test different things, see what What is what? Because sometimes you think you know what is going on. Oh, if I adjust the yellows or blues, like it'll affect that part of the image, and it's not. For me, I just can't track it. I don't know why. Want something more into the reds going, more yellow, oranges. Oh, this is where you get into like color contrast. This is more like an orange color. Better than that, but is it better than what I had before? Hard to tell because it's in pieces. I wish I could have Capture One open at the same time, but I just think that's asking a lot right now. I do wonder if it's a bit underexposed. You can see it's not really getting into. It felt right in the black and white, but I don't have too much contrast. I think I prefer a more like traditional like tonality, using tonality and values. No, those are related. I didn't pay a lot of attention in color theory. Which I regret. But I think that is, I'm definitely liking this more. How to make select, yes. Shift S, no. Collapse, nope. Compare, nope. Wait, what? What? Oh. Oh. So this is the pick. Yeah, okay. Forgetting all my keyboard shortcuts. Call this Terra. Yeah, that's not the right one. That's the one I want. No. Oh, it's because it's not making it as pick. Sorry, there's like, how do you make it like the favorite edit? I am not spacing on this, am I? Stacking, unstack, stack, flap stack, top of the stack. Yeah, it's Shift S. Stack. Could have sworn I'd done that, but maybe not. So this is the one that is Terra. So this is just for metadata for the screensaver. So again, it feels different. I think like the green through there is a little problematic actually. Let me fix that. This is where I'll get into like spot fixing. You can see the green's kind of spiking through here, which is a telltale sign. But you can see it, like it feels a lot more even. Sometimes when you start doing corrections and start fucking around with the balance here, you can kind of get in trouble. I don't know if that killed like the feel a little bit. Greens through here felt kind of nice, but now they're gone. I could do a local edit and just kind of up the greens through here, but I think it would be at risk of feeling pasted on. Yeah. Trust. I'm going to export wallpapers. export. So then what I have to do is search for maybe I deleted it? Or is it a different? What is this? Maybe it's just not there. Terra. Dark cold, I don't think that would be it. No texture. So I'm not even like paying attention, I'm just seeing Terra and clicking like an idiot. Terra. No, this one's too saturated. I gotta fix that one too. That's a recent one. This one almost feels too saturated too. Yeah, I mean, I know it was in there at one point, but it's clearly not. So, no GPU glitching. So let's. And what's annoying, not really annoying, it's just something I have to think about is like how I name these, because the way my brother wrote the app and the screensaver and the TV app, it basically checks for like it won't load a new image until it sees a new file name. So if I overwrite an image, it will think it's the same image, and this is to avoid like constant loading on like the user's end, so they don't have to reload every image because I mean it's pretty sizable. Like, I clear the search. It tells me. Tell me here. Do I have old selects in here? Yeah, I have the archive, so that's not really true. Yeah, it's something like 400 megabytes or something. So if people have to constantly reload it, it's one going to be annoying for them. They're going to have to wait. They're going to have to, yeah, basically just wait. And for me, like I have to pay for the AWS for like people to download it again. So it's one of those things that like give and take, but yeah, I keep coming back to this one whether I like it or not. The grade, the image, like Yosemite, it's hard to go wrong, but yeah. Okay. Onward. Lightroom. Selects. So I should be able to delete that. Delete from disk. So I didn't know this. I mean, I feel like more people knew this than I did. If you have a prompt like that and you don't want the main one that's like press enter, you do command and then the first letter of whatever the other secondary option is. So you can use key commands to do like for me, the second option was delete from disk. So I just did command D and it got rid of it for me. One thing I wonder is if I should do, or if I can do, something that displays like the shortcuts I'm doing, or like the keyboard input. I think that's something that might be valuable for some people. So this one's definitely a problem. The edit's not actually rather like this one, but there's multiple. I think there's 2 edits, and that goes back to the file naming. So I'll search for the file name, but it altered somehow, and it just, yeah. The way I used to do it is like if I would dump it in there, and if it would do the overwrite prompt, I would cancel it, delete the one that's already existing, and then update the file name in the finder. Like I'll do like -2, upload it, and then it would be fine. But something happened where it didn't really line up. Maybe I changed the metadata on a different one, or sometimes like I won't pay attention. I will mark multiple images as possible selects. And so the file number is different. And so I might just apply different edits, cross-reference purely based on the numbers. I try and remember it, but I don't always. So then I get duplicates that way. So 0, 8. Yeah, I can just do this. 08049. Yep, there you go. 2 of them. So I can tell you what happened. Different dates. So I forget that actually shifted because I could then in capture one, you could add the date exported into the file name. So you can do like all these like post-processing where you can, like for me, I pull metadata from the caption and that's how it embeds in the file, and that's how the screensaver is able to filter out by different categories. But yeah, I just did a different date, and I think I probably assumed it was still running the same way. So that's one. That's the other. But I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this one. I'll leave. This is a capture one edit. I rather like. It's again more like that excessive, stylistically interesting one. I think the other one was nice. It just wasn't as, I don't know, intriguing, I guess. I'm looking to save and upgrade my setup soon. I want to be able to at least run After Effects and a decent render preview enabled. Yeah, that would be sweet. I don't know what is the ideal setup for After Effects, but yeah, probably not this speed. Probably just CPU. But yeah, I'm all for like. I mean, of course, do it within reasonable bounds, but I really am all for investing in tools. And like for me, I literally will sit here 14 hours a day. And so if I can trim off over the span of 14 hours, a couple hours of work just by not having to wait, especially as I'm getting into 3D now, especially some of the more like video processing, like that to me is worth it. I'll get another duplicate. But this is not the most useful. This is something I should do at a different time. Which one is this? I guess it is the correct one. This can, so delete. Oh, nope. Delete from disk. What if I know the edit to fix? There's a couple that are really bad looking. This one bugs me a lot. 2-1. To the point where I'm gonna delete it before I even have, like, I may not settle on something today, but I need that out of there. That's a bad representation. So we'll go photos, data off. Again, multiple images. Yeah. So that is not. Oh. But you can see some of the issues I have with it is through these shadows. You can see some of the ghosting going on with too much negative texture, clarity, and dehaze around. Like, this is when it gets really sensitive. Like, you'll start to see ghosting around the tree. Like, anything that's like high contrast and fine, if you start messing around with those parameters too far in the negative, it kind of just creates this ghosting look to it. So I think this color is closer to what I have in mind. This is the actual final edit. This is what came out, and this is what was imported into Capture One, which I do like more. And this is one, I think I did this before on a stream way back. I've only done 20 streams, so there's not too far back, but I I think this is one I want to start from scratch. Oh, let's go full reset. Already feeling better. Again, I feel like I've talked about this one, but probably one of the coolest experiences in terms of like having something to shoot. It was just like very time sensitive with sunrise happening. Oh, I'm making a colossal fucking mistake right now. I don't know what's gonna happen to the stream. It might bug out for a second. Let me check the stream, make sure the camera turned off. Still here. Yeah. Uh-oh. Skip frames detected. It's always good. Sweet. I never switched to stream setup. I was here in the rain, but no one else was. But yeah, what I need to do, part of the problem is like it's kind of bright out. I may do like late night photo stream sessions. Just because it's the best for, like, I do a lot of dark images and that's when I prefer to edit, is when it's dark out. Now that we have these long summer days, part of the problem is like that's how the image is. Sorry, I'm like jumping between them. If I reset, right, like it's part of the cloud, and I don't know if it's just from like light passing through here, but it creates that artificial sort of, call it, edging. Not a fan. I need to do what I can to try and minimize it. I do like the brighter exposure to this. Because it's, yeah, I think I struggled with this before, like whether this is really like a dark moment or a light moment. I think it's more light because the sun's like just blasting through here. And part of me wants to always make it dark and dramatic and just like, oh, but it's not. It's not this moment. So I think I've done kind of an injustice on this one. Too far. I don't know why I like that tree there, but let's do. Trying to get away from too much of the reds, shadows, because shadows are very predominant here. You see, as like reds go more like magenta-y. Ironically, it's kind of compensating for that, but oh, this is just like what I missed about in Capture One. I hate to just like keep parading that point, but it's a big deal for how I manage colors. I don't do it. I try not to mess with saturation of color calibration, but if there's an image like stylistically I know I want to push in a certain direction, sometimes I find it's a more controlled way to add kind of a more realistic color balance. It's not honest to the actual image and doing it the traditional way, but sometimes you can just mess with the balance through here. I mean, you can of course do it through color grading, but I think it's just another nice tool. Kind of get it closer to where your starting point is for this. So I do like the blues through the midtones. I have to stay honest to the highlights being warm. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Again, if I want to go more like stylistic, blues will help neutralize some of like the warmer color balance, but it needs a little bit of, but not that much. It's okay to lean into this a little bit. I'm just subtle about it. I can make this bigger. So, my tablet. I hate painting. Like, if I have to do any sort of. I'm gonna get it real fast. I'm actually gonna be right back. I'm gonna get some water. Chrome browsing, and it pulls this up. Fascinating. I'll be right back in 2 minutes. Yeah, be right back. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. There may be audio. Feel free to mute it. Yeah, I did change it, but it's not mixed. So just sorry if it's bad. Be right back. Oh shit. I don't know if that played at all. I just realized the audio. So I have like a streaming output that goes to like my AirPod maxes, and then to the streaming, there's like some plugin or some shit that I have to have. Actually, I don't know if my mic's on or not. It is on. Yes. And I'll add drinking water. I got a beer because it's Sunday, 5 o'clock. Um, comments. Let's see. What would you say your goals are as an independent creative designer? $1 million question. I don't know. Like, I think they're all pretty broad at this point. In terms of like where I see myself, like I don't really know. I've kicked around the idea of like I've had some opportunities to go in house. Nothing quite really struck my fancy. I applied at a couple places, and I think for the best that like I didn't get any of them. I just don't think um, they saw like my old website, which was like the poster takeover. Um, I don't think they were very interested in what they saw or didn't understand how I fit as like a creative director type. Um, that's not it. But I mean, for me right now, like I'd love just to be independent and like create things that, um, I mean, the end goal is never like money being attached to my creative output. It's never like what my primary objective is. Um, I think it's like a necessary evil. Like if you want to make a living with creative, like you have to start kind of thinking about that. Um, and that's where like I'd love just to do things that are more passive, um, like the wallpaper packs. Like those are $2.99. Like I'm gonna have to sell millions of those for that to like prop me up because what I'm doing now is like I worked contracts for a year and um, that sort of is keeping me afloat right now. And so I'm basically using money made from that to pay for my ability to work on whatever the fuck I want. Um, and that's what I love about where I'm at right now. Like I can't talk. I mean, yeah, I can't talk about who it's with, what it is. But it's some of them like the most fucking fun thing I've ever worked on. So whether it's just like taking client projects on to kind of keep the lights on and then having these passion projects, yeah, and like making money and having things is never like if you look around like it's a white room. I have nothing on the walls. Like I'm pretty simple. Like yeah, I like some things I want to be able to buy, but like I think of money as a like amassing any sort of money through work is like the I'm only using that so I don't have to work on things I don't want to. And to have more flexibility to kind of choose who I work with, how I work with them, um, who I partner with, like having the luxury to be selective and say no to things is something. I mean, I'm 12 years in, whatever, and I feel like I'm getting to a point where I can say no to things, and I don't feel like anxiety about it. Um, so yeah, there's no real clear answer. I guess I would say I just want to keep getting better, and I keep on working on just like cool, fun, interesting stuff. And that's kind of a terrible answer. And um, yeah, one I've been trying to really nail down, but I don't really know. I just know like me collaborating with other people and making rad stuff with creative leeway is kind of it. How that works, I don't know. Like, do I get paid for that? Because right now, like the Ari website, I mean, I dedicated a lot of hours, and if those were all billable hours, like I'd probably have a nice little chunk of change to sit on. But like that's not the motivator for me. So, and like that stuff's more gratifying than a lot of other client work that I've done lately. So, um, and that's why the website was a big part of like how I communicate what I do and like how that can be of value to someone else. Like that was a big priority. Like I needed to get that headed in the right direction. Like it's not there, but it's, and I'm like, because I don't have a great answer to that, I'm gonna need to kind of keep changing that and evolving over time. So yeah, very convoluted answer. Probably one of my worst answers, so I apologize if that didn't answer. But another kind of blanket statement with that is like I've learned just to not pretend like I know where I'm going, because I wanted like the career path of like your traditional, like I wanted your creative director as like the end goal. Like I'll know I made it when I'm a creative director. That seemed like, and I started just chasing title bumps of like every bump up in a title got me closer. So I went from like junior designer to senior designer. I was like so stoked on that. And then once you go to art director, I feel like that's another big one. Like you can tell, you can say you're an art director. It's got some cachet to it. It's really fucking meaningless. Is I think the joke of it now. Because there's plenty of art directors out there who are like junior level at best in their responsibilities and their abilities. Um, that's my kind of cynical. Like I think there's a lot of places that have placated people into staying by just giving them meaningless promotions. Like as a company, they don't mean anything, but like they can go tell their friends they're an art director, or they can put it on their resume. I'm an art director. So that's why like it's really funny to watch. Not funny. I mean, I was promoted to art director too early at one place. I was doing the work of an art director, but I think like my seniority level wasn't right. Like so when I went to FI, like I went back down to senior designer, which wasn't a problem. Like that time at FI was like some of the best times, and I think that made sense within their structure. Um, was I a true art director at that job before? Probably not. Um, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, like the chasing of titles like are meaningless. It's all about like what you do at that time. Like if you're not doing what you love, like let's say you make creative director, but you're like miles from the work, like you're buried in like reviews and talking about people about salary and dealing with HR. Like, is that what you got into creative work for? Like, I can't imagine it is. And and some people make peace with it. Like they just accept like that's what comes with, like, yes, there's a lot of like administration type stuff that comes with being able to have control over um, like broad strokes creative that goes out. Like you're managing people in like the personal level and the creative level. And for me, that was never of any interest. So I've kind of steered away from that. I meant to get my tablet. 1 second. I give it a 1 in 10 chance that my headphone might go out, so I might lose the mic. I push the on button. Watch, it's gonna work perfectly. I might have to hardwire it if it really starts getting messy. I might have to disable my mouse. It's always like a guessing game of what it's gonna take to get this to work. Because I love, like, when this thing works properly, it's fucking dream. That's right. I'm gonna knock my tablet pen over. Well-oiled machine. But yeah, kind of just like going back to that again and again and again. But I just found goals for me complicated things. Like I tried to bend what I really wanted to do into like what I told people I wanted to do, or told managers, or told a lot of it was myself. Like just coming to terms with like I was wrong, um, and accepting the fact that like assumptions I made weren't right. It happens, and like sometimes you could argue like turned it off and I lost audio for a second. I'm talking about my tablet. Tablet? I turn my mouse off. Tablet? Tablet? Great stream. Just troubleshooting Bluetooth. 1 second. So nice. You pay all this extra for Bluetooth and then it just doesn't work. And the best part about this is like I have to have my Mac on one side, so I have to run this cable right in front of me. I can't run it like straight back. What the hell? Sorry, this might be going off the rails a little earlier than usual, but it's Sunday. I'm committed to this. Fixing this stupid spot. I wonder. Oh yeah. So it even switched audio. So you lost the rain because the Bluetooth dropped out so much that it changed from like off AirPods onto AirPods, but it didn't go back onto the streaming setup. Sorry. So I do want to fix this. Why? You can have 2 of them open at once? It's wild. Brush. That size. Feather. Whoa. See, asshole, like, can't do opacity? Density, I guess, is opacity. I guess. What is it? M? No. How do you show mask? Whatever. Let's brush this in. I think it's O. O? Yeah. And you can just. That looks like full opacity. Flow? Flow? Wow, it's so light. Huh. Oh. Hello? I don't like where this is going already. Okay. Density? Up. It's not opacity. Flow? Up. Like it. Flow down. Third time. Oh, that is like. Auto mask on that? I'm not enjoying my masking experience right now. What's that? Auto mask is off. Auto mask is off. There's no luminance range. I don't know. Titles are weird for me. Yep. People love them. Get way too attached to them. I don't know what to call myself, at least on my portfolio. I mean, I would go with what your obvious, your real title is, but I think it's just kind of detaching from any expectations of, like what um, like what your place is, like where it's going to be if you want to go somewhere else. Um, I just think that's kind of a dangerous recipe. I'm doing this backwards. Maybe I'll make the rest dark. Yeah. Sorry. Or yeah. Smoothing this out. I can't see the mask. Some pressure. Erase? I don't know what that is. Oop. Fuck out of here. Oh. Quick collection. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to limit myself, but I need to get a job too. Yeah, I mean, it's. You can always shoot for the stars, that kind of cliche sort of thing. Like, you can always. Um, I mean, for me, okay, I'm trying to collect my thoughts on it. Like, for me, it's about checking the roles and responsibilities of like what they list as like this is what you're going to be responsible for, and those are you could always take with a grain of salt. Um, like you might not be doing that on a day-to-day basis, and that's why I've left a lot of jobs. Is like I was given a lot of false promises in terms of um, what I would be doing on a day-to-day. But if like those day-to-days sound kind of related to what you're currently doing and what you're interested in doing, then I would say go for it. Like um, I don't think there's any issue with like let's say you're currently. I mean, there's gonna be a limit for sure in terms of like what you can like I think people are gonna like raise their eyebrow if you're like a junior designer applying for a creative director position. Like they're gonna immediately just they're not even gonna look past like who you are, what you do, what you've done. Be like, I don't know what fuck is erase. Yeah, it's a shortcut. That's right, I can't my mouse is disconnected. Okay. I mean, there's gonna be that first pass of filtration of like whether, and I think a lot of places that hire understand. Um, this is just getting worse. Understand that titles don't really mean as much as they used to. Um, I don't think a senior designer was given out until you were like 5 or 6 years in at like traditional agencies, whereas they're just given out a couple of years in. Like I think I made senior designer like 2, 3 years in. 2 years? No, 2 years in. I don't think it was excessively fast. I think I did have to threaten to quit for that to happen, and that only kept me for a little bit. But um, I don't know if I made that any better. But yeah, like I think like everyone kind of has a common understanding. Titles don't line up. Everyone gets utilized in different ways throughout um, different companies. So to expect there's going to be a perfect one-to-one alignment, like let's say there's a art director position and there's someone that's a senior designer. But a lot of times, like our world's so small. A lot of like the interactive agency world's so small. Like they kind of know, like based on headcount, based on like reputation, kind of how different people are being utilized. Um, so sometimes there's that can be like a pro or con. But if you're not at a shop that a lot of people know of, I just say aim high. Like, but be realistic with yourself. Of like, are you good for this position? Are you good for them, and is it good for you? Like those to me are like the two questions I would want answered. And like that's what like when I look at jobs, like that's kind of what I want to check off. Like I don't want to get there and just be like make a fool of myself and just be totally unqualified. And um, yes, it might be where I want to be, but like realistically, like am I able to, I don't know, what it would be like, mentor a team of like 100 people and that sort of level of management. Like, no, I'd get laughed out of the building and probably fired, and I'd probably quit before I can get fired. But like, that's just, you don't want to put yourself in like a miserable position. Um, so that sort of being the litmus test is like, am I comfortable doing it? Is it what I want to do? And then if it all lines up and like you feel like you're qualified for it, just go for it. And then a lot of times, like, places will just bring people in for like an initial call, and like there's certain questions you can ask people to really get a gauge of what their seniority level is, um, before even diving into portfolios or like what your day to day is, like just what people can kind of converse on, offhand, like unscripted. Like, you kind of can tell what people know and what they don't know, and that kind of translates to where their seniority falls within like whatever your relative scale is or what you're looking for. So yeah, kind of a long-winded answers on a Sunday. I mean, I'm not gonna apologize, but I could definitely do better. Give me time. I got a pretty early start today. I started jamming. Man, this design project, I'm just fucking excited about it. That looks awful. That's not the fix we're looking for. This is so bad. Fuck. Don't judge me. I'm just trying to get rid of this snow patch, and the, like, this is gonna be dark. Let's just go with it. You see, there's like weird coloration to it. This is always like the trick with Lightroom, is like trying to like dodge and weave all, like, if you need to sample different areas. But then when it's like this dark, like sometimes I'll sample the same area, which is usually like a big fucking no-no. Like, don't do that. I got really lucky that I got an internship at Sony way back in the day for creative prints and services, I think, where we just did like photo retouching of just various assets. Um, and like, just learning the different techniques and how to do it has been wildly useful. In terms of like how you recreate different areas, what to look for. I mean, I think it's more commonplace now. It wasn't back then. But yo, what's going on, Felix? Thanks for popping in, man. It's kind of a loose cannon of a Sunday stream. I've switched to beer. I'm just leaning into it at this point. Anything photo, design, anything. Give me a shout, man. I'm just fixing broken edits still, and I'm not making a ton of progress. I committed to fixing this, but I think I made it worse. I don't know if maybe that's why I made it darker in the beginning. Was just like, I can't fucking fix this, so I'm just gonna make the whole hill dark. Like, look, problem solved. What blotchy area? That's almost worse. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like, that is in the image. Ooh, that's bad. It's like, do I get rid of it entirely? That healing actually worked out not terribly. I mean, you can see it. But that's like the half the trick of like doing, like, I don't know what it is, like fixing images and doing all that kind of post stuff. It's like, if people aren't, if you don't give people a reason to look there, they're not going to. So like, a lot of my corrections can be kind of, I try not to be sloppy with it, but kind of can be, because like, especially if you have like a very like focused image, and like I'm able to see the patterns because I made them, but people aren't looking for patterns in a photo. So that's where I think you kind of get away with it. Actually, the advice I think is I realize it's all about the work in the end, and also probably whether or not you're happy in the process. 1000%, man. I think it's that easy. Um, I spent years trying to figure out what made me happy, and I don't think I ever circled back to kind of where I got to. Um, yeah, I wanted the traditional path. I thought that was kind of what was for me, but then I just realized on a day-to-day basis, like I didn't want to manage people. I can do it. I don't mind doing it, but is it what makes me most happy? And it's not. It's um, for me, it's more about like staying in the work and like refining my craft. So it's like, okay, that's what I know makes me happy. It's like every other decision has to kind of bend around that, and that's one of those things that's not like a long goal. It's not like I want to be doing this. Like it's kind of a high level goal of just like I want to make cool shit and I want to get better at it. Like that's kind of how you go about that is still open to interpretation. I think you have to kind of consider paths of how you can do it, or you can look at opportunities that come your way through that lens of like, is this serving that need? And that's how I used it for a lot of things in my life. Was just like, there's some things that just aren't in my best interest in the long term, and I just started filtering that stuff out. And there's some painful sacrifices and things, but like you learn to live with the sacrifices being made because you know it's like it levels up to that sort of source of truth of like, this is what I know. Like there's one keystone to my happiness in my work that like I know is fact. And for me, like hard decisions got more palatable. A lot of personal things, a lot of like whatever, like um, the shit doesn't kind of happen on its own, unfortunately. Um, and I don't think I'm special in that case. Like if you look at most um, creatives who are like really into the work, like there's a cost associated with it. And it's I don't know. I guess I've accepted that's the reality of it. This might break everything. Still here? How my mouse wasn't working. No mouse. Okay, they're green. But yeah, I can't remember where I was. But the day-to-day happiness, like I think people overlook that like very fundamental aspect of it, of like just doing what you love. And I could go on a long random tangent about that and how that applies to I don't know paths being pushed on people and just like not being it's not considered whether or not it's what makes someone happy. I don't know. When that's really what matters at the end of the day. So my mouse just isn't going to work. Because editing points with the tablet is not fun. We're not connected, you liar. Connected. So these points like don't do a tablet. Not advised. Sorry, I spent a lot of time on this one. Menial results. There's still weird like banding of reds through here. There. I think it's better. It's definitely still red. So if you, yeah, look at like the up here. when I hover over this area, you can see the reds. Oh, that pixel not specifically, but I mean the blues are non-existent. Greens are pretty prominent, but that's better. And the gradation helps. I think this is, I don't know if it's too flat though. Almost created like a dark blob. And in most cases, I would just crop this out, but I don't know if that's really the answer. I like how the shoreline resolves into the corner. I like how the horizons lines on the rule of thirds. This is to both, and this is the point of interest. So this is one of those where it's like it's such a strong like focal point over here. It's like your eye almost never really looks here, so it almost helps guide you there, but it does feel like it's still a little too heavy. And like I want to do something really gross, but I'm gonna try not to. I'm thinking about like adding one on top of this that helps pull the shadows up, but I'm not gonna. I pull the shadows up too much. I'm okay with dark areas, but just like dark blobs that are nothing. I don't know where I fall off. Oh, not G. I still remember my shortcuts. Sorry. Better. Better than this. But you see, like you kind of see some artifacts through here. I did the same fixing of the snow. Forgot about that. What was my last edit in Lightroom? I just made that all dark. I don't even want to look at this. That's not too bad. I get that so flat. It's like tonally, like that is very flat. There has to be some brushing going on. I almost like this as a better solve than what I did. The same bucket, like it's not important. It's really not. I just don't know how I'm doing it. It's like the darks aren't nuked. They are somewhere. I don't know where though. Oh, contrast is high. I dumped that. Getting better. Don't want to go too far. Direction. Magenta's kind of high. Texture's a little low. I don't want that ghosting again on this tree. Grain settings look wrong. So yeah. 15, 50, 50. That's what I've been dabbling with lately. It shows up, but it's not overpowering. How is it so dark? I'm so confused right now. Unless this is luminance is dumped. It's not. Couldn't even do that when I edited this. I think now I'm getting it back. Let's see, compare. I'd be happy with the one on the right if just this fucking thing wasn't here. I'm really not liking the local edit abilities in Lightroom right now. That is one thing Capture One is definitively better at. Sorry, there's all sorts of weird noises on the streets outside. I love where I live, but man, there's just a lot of spoiled kids running around. A lot of people trying to go to the beach. Actually, my highlight fix without the luminance range. Soften that a lot. It's crazy. No, it just created like a overexposed. Ooh. That's it. Done. Ship it. Meta. Tab. Caption. There. Dark dramatic. Why not? Okay. Mark it green. Export. Wallpapers. There's a 50-50 chance I come back to this later. Decide I don't like it. But right now, it's pretty good. Fix the softness through here. You can still see some of the details, but information isn't important. Decent balance. We still see there's a spot right there. There's always something. Ooh, it's charged. Export. Overwrite. Why is the C1 export modified today? Oh, so this is part of the DaVinci process where I would export without grain, which to me is kind of weird. I never really liked that. I'm just gonna go ahead and yeah, this one came out really strange. Delete that. Hide this. So 9213 should be brand new. See how it looks. Sometimes like I check it on the TV to see what's what and kind of like how the colors hold up on a lesser quality display or just different. Like Sony's an entirely different brand. Let's see. Keep going. Photos. Feel free to shift things up. I made good on my word to at least fix 2 of them that have been driving me crazy, so I feel good about that. This guy. This one should be in the photo stream. It doesn't work for Instagram. Selects urban. Oh, don't. 7. By the way, I was inspired by the walkthrough of your process in a previous stream and actually used Pinterest for the first time to start visual exploration part of my project. How did you like it? I'm definitely curious. Because it's definitely like it's how I do it. I'm always on here, just for whatever different purposes. But I try and update this regularly. Like if I just kind of hit a stopping point, I'll just start adding stuff on here. Um, yeah, I think I was complaining about it last time. Like there's no way to like shuffle it or like get a fresh look at like what's like way down below. Um, but yeah, you never know where ideas are going to come from. So I love it. Um, but yeah, I never. Um, this is more me just saying this in general. Like I don't pretend everyone's got the same process, but hopefully it helped. Like I'd be stoked to hear if um, that did end up helping. But yeah, this shot that loads. Might need to restart. Are we really at that point? But yeah, this just doesn't work on Instagram. I thought about like punching it in, show the bridge going through the fog, but it might work. Okay, I'm gonna go back to mouse for now. Can I send a link in this chat? I discovered some pretty awesome works of Japanese graphic designers in the rabbit hole. Can you? Toggle time sunset feedback. Oh my god. Lightroom. Still. I quit it again. Let me pull the stream up. Chrome browser? Oh, can look at that. Yeah, this is struggling a lot. I'm definitely dropping frames. Huh. Let me look up how to in YouTube chat. Let me see if I go into the studio. Second. Oh, it's right here. Where's the settings? I think it's something in the settings, like it's something like auto flag for spam. Language certification. Allow all comments. Yeah, I have it set on allow all comments. I don't know why it's barking at me or not allow it. Link. Own the channel and have appointed more. So I would have to make you moderator, it looks like. Which I don't know what all comes with moderating powers, but I don't know if there's like a name of someone I can look up. I'd definitely be down to check it out. I've got a soft spot for Japanese design, art, everything. Let's see. Go back to desktop streaming. Oh yeah, close that room. Let's see. Yeah, this stuff's rad. I always love like the kind of like frosted glass sort of look. So super interesting. Hiroshige. Yeah, there's some really nice stuff in here. You spent some time in here though. Yeah, oh, Japanese graphic design. That's like a whole different thing I need to dive into. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, like I don't know, it's like the one thing my family, it's like my grandfather lived in Japan for a while. Um, yeah, collect. He like randomly just went to street vendors and started collecting woodblock prints. Um, I mean, none of them are actually going to be on here, but this is like the style of work. So we have like a bunch of them, but yeah, it just like kind of grew my appreciation of it. All the design style tone sort of evolved the deeper I went in the rabbit hole. Yeah, I for sure like you start like picking out different characteristics of something, and that's where I give. I mean, it's always taken with a grain of salt. Like you click on something and it like Pinterest, like it starts some of the related images kind of start getting at um, some of the characteristics that are in that one. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I will like I found myself like 10 clicks in on some of the Pinterest boards. Um, just like, oh, like that looks cool. But then like sometimes you hit dead ends with um, that's really cool. But you hit like dead ends where the algorithm just doesn't pay off anymore. It's kind of gotten into random like it's giving you random it's yeah, the related images coming off of that are sort of random and based off of characteristics you're no longer interested in. But that might give you different search terms to start looking for. So then it kind of just starts over again. Um, and you get more refined with like what you're looking for. And yeah, that's where I think it's just nice, like organic process to get inspiration. So yeah, it's just awesome. It definitely looks like you took a deep dive, uh, going in hard on the Pinterest. So yeah, hopefully it pays off for you. Definitely looks like you're honing in on a bit of a direction there. So um, that's kind of my end goal. Because then I'll just start jamming, iterating, and then hit walls, go back. It's always kind of just like fluid sort of process. I've had a hard time with this image. Let's see. Show library. This is the one. Yeah, I tried to like go in on the bridge, but I think this is really punched in. Oh, it's not. What? How was that? 34 millimeter. The other one must have been, what's it called? Like my 16 to 35. I didn't realize I changed lenses. 19, yeah, 16 to 35. Yeah. Random stuff baked into the shoot. Oh, this is one that I actually think I did a decent job with this. Uh-oh. Spoke too soon. Yeah, this is old edit techniques. Probably, yeah, there you go. Way too flat. I think it's possible to get something out of this. if I just knock this shit off right here. Some weird stuff happening here. I don't know if I should restart with this or if I can salvage it. I think there's too much weird stuff going on. I'll leave it as an interesting reference, but it's not. Not it. I forgot about the entirely. Yeah, I went down for a company party and they put us up in this tower. It's like above the fog. Was not expecting to be shooting. Forgot all about this. But these are kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, it's so close. Yeah, let's mark this. See what time it is. 5, 6. How long have I been going? Sorry, just checking something. Okay. Yeah, this should be multiple. Huh. You can see, like, this is again, like, look at all these fucking points. Not advisable. I think you can get away with it. Like, I think in the highlights, I'm seeing some issues, which ironically is not where most of this crazy shit is happening. But if you're pushing that hard, you're either like working with interior design companies who want like mathematically impossible type things, or you're working too hard. Like that's fighting something. Clearly, I made the second one off the first one instead of starting over. Okay. Kind of looks like ominous. Oh. Yeah. Shadows are super powerful. Crazy about the colors, right? Better. Much as I don't like pushing that blue primary. Helps a lot. Let's see. If I want to like erase it, I think I want to knock it back a little bit. It's a little too yellow. Contrast. Yeah, so I'm like jumping around all over the place on this one. And you can see where like the division is and like where the color is being applied. like this is getting into the highlights here. So with this image specifically, like if I want to grade this, the midtones in any sort of way, I have to think about the highlights and kind of, I can't be down here in the purple, otherwise I'll just accentuate that contrast and it's gonna look, it does a pretty good job of blending it, but it's definitely not where you want to be. Yeah. Like you can see the blues like almost just neutralize the sun entirely, which I don't really want. I kind of wanted to with some of the initial colors, but when it comes to, or with the, where did I do it? The calibration. But now that we're getting to like the kind of color grading stylistic elements, like, yeah, I want to lean into it. There are some weird things you can do with like adding blue to the highlights as kind of like a offset slash blowout type of look. But again, like I tend to start heavy-handed and then just work my way back. Find out like, okay, that feels right. Um, just in, I thought it was interesting. I think losing it to ever. Yeah, it's starting to feel better. I thought I didn't want the horizon line in there, but I think it does kind of help. Tempted to just go all in on warm. It's really the answer. Part of me doesn't feel like the, I went to black and white mode. It's starting to feel okay. Highlights, I think I've already dumped them a little bit. Blending, just kind of test. Up a little bit. No, that was balance, excuse me. And with a lot of these, like I'll just go back and forth without any real plan, just kind of, and no expectation that I need to land back at 50. There's some where it's like if you don't really need it, don't do it. But stuff like that, where it's like blending, it's like there's really no rhyme or reason for landing on a specific value or not. Like zeros, 0 and 20 are like the same, or plus 10, whatever you want to call it. And this is sort of eyeing these in terms of like what I could do. I don't know. It seems like it. That is what's technically possible, but I don't. Bump the beds. Or I'll start like deleting these preset points because like once you have too many data points and you start like creating weird moments of contrast, like that's when you get banding and all sorts of strange shit going on. So because of this image type, like I'm just not gonna have that extra point. It's kind of non-essential. Greens, too much. I haven't been doing much of the individual channel tonal curves. Just doesn't. I've been happy with how the color grading's been working. This one I'm gonna try and do more like wholesale color adjustment. Again, I think like the blues are important there. Kind of offer some balance. Um, this is one of those tricky ones where it's like, I want to go dark, but I don't think I should. It's irresponsible. I mean, this feels really nice, but like how it bleeds off to that doesn't really work. But I think it's probably readjusting the crop again. Going back to something like this. Yeah, that's feeling better. What is this? Oh, I remember these. Urban. These are all yellow. None of those are good to go. That one's added. Urban. Flex 7s for yellow. It's probably the clearest one. Add that. Yellow. Urban. I don't know about selects yet. That's kind of like the system I have. Really no preview of them. Yeah. This is me just trying to get like the color palette of shooting in the city because I don't really, to that point, I hadn't really had much. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll just shoot from our balcony and try and get some like the street lights, street texture from way the hell up here. But I didn't really shoot when I walk around. I don't really like doing that. I think I'm gonna call the stream there. Pretty good for a Sunday, a couple hours. I'll be back tomorrow. I think a certain something is gonna launch tomorrow. In which case I'll probably promote it shamelessly, and then talk about process and all that good shit. So, yeah, thank you everyone who came. I don't know, there weren't a lot of people for this one. I think Sunday was kind of a tough one. I think me, Arjun, and a couple other people, Kevin, Felix, coming through. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna try to make it more regular. So, and I'll try and have my shit together. Probably have some coffee in my system and not ramble for answers. So, where is my Streamlabs? Housing. Yeah, this is where it's gonna be. So yeah. Again, I still need to work on the schedule. I'm proud I at least got the updated song, so it's not that stupid old one. But I don't think anyone heard it either time I played it, so it's kind of whatever. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna try and schedule something, get my schedule together tonight, and try and post it. That'll be my thing going forward. Is just in thinking about it now, instead of like promoting each stream live, like people are subscribed will get notifications when I go live, but there will be a tweet kind of talking about the tentative schedule I'm hoping for. I don't think it's always going to be able to be 5 days. There's a chance something comes up where I'm not able to do all those 5 days, but I do want to make it more regular because I think that's a big component. So, yeah,